For the first time, scientists have recovered ancient DNA from two people who lived 10,000 years ago in what is now Siberia. This discovery has finally revealed who the first people were to live in the Americas, and what they found may surprise you. It's me, and you're watching this channel. Join me today as we look at new discoveries about the first Americans and how scientists finally uncovered their identity through ancient DNA. The discovery of the world's oldest known DNA has finally answered many questions about who the first people were to inhabit North America. Until recently, scientists believed that the first Americans migrated across the Bering Strait land bridge during the last ice age. According to this theory, a group of humans from northeastern Asia walked across the frozen Beringia region and arrived in Alaska around 13,000 years ago. Then, following the glaciers, they slowly made their way southwards, where they eventually gave rise to all of the indigenous cultures that would later inhabit North and South America. But recent discoveries of pre-clovis sites such as Monteverde in Chile have pushed back the time frame for the first human habitation of the Americas to 14,500 years ago. This discovery completely disproved the idea that humans had followed the retreating glaciers into North and South America. In fact, even before Monteverde was discovered, archaeologists had already found evidence of human habitation in the Americas dating back 16,000 years. But it was only recently that we learned the identity of the people who had lived there. In 2020, a group of scientists led by the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History in Germany extracted ancient DNA from bones found at the Siberian burial site of Malar, Siberian. The two skeletons, a male and female, were discovered in 2009 within the Ozerny district of the Altai region in southern Siberia. These individuals had been buried together in what appeared to be a ritualistic ceremony with grave goods. Analysis of the bones revealed that both had died around 10,000 years ago, long before the supposed migration to the Americas. Though the team had hoped to sequence the pair's DNA, it soon became apparent that the preservation of the genetic material would not be possible due to the extremely dry climate of Siberia. However, just when the researchers were about to abandon their efforts, one of the scientists suggested trying to extract mitochondrial DNA instead. Mitochondria are structures within cells that are responsible for producing energy. They have their own small circular DNA molecules separate from the nuclear DNA found in the cell's nucleus. And these mitochondrial genomes can be much easier to analyze than nuclear DNA, which makes them ideal for studying ancient samples. Luckily, the scientists had an ace up their sleeve. One of the co-authors of the study had developed a new method for extracting and analyzing ancient mitochondrial DNA. After applying this cutting-edge technology to the two skeletons, the team was able to successfully sequence the complete mitochondrial genome of the woman and portions of the man's mitochondrial DNA. Their findings were published in the journal Nature in January of 2023, and what they found completely transformed our understanding of the first Americans. The DNA analysis revealed that the Malars individuals were closely related to the Ainu people of Japan and the Jomon people of the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. Even more intriguing, the team discovered that the Malars individuals diverged from the East Asian population that would later become the ancestors of modern Native Americans between 2700 and 9400 years ago. This date predates the previously believed migration to the Americas by several thousand years. So if these two people were buried in Siberia 10,000 years ago, how did their descendants end up in North and South America? The key to this mystery lies in another recent discovery. Scientists working at the site of the Chiquihuit cave in northern Mexico uncovered evidence that the region had been inhabited 14,600 years ago. What's really amazing about this site is that it appears to have been occupied by more than one group of people at different points in history. Archaeologists found projectile points, stone tools, and other artifacts from two distinct cultures at the cave. The earliest occupation dates back to 14,600 years ago, while the second dates back 11,800 years. This suggests that groups of people may have been visiting the site for thousands of years. What's even more surprising is that some of the artifacts from the Chiquihuit cave bear a striking resemblance to those found in Siberia. The discovery of these similarities between Siberian and American artifacts inspired one of the researchers to undertake an independent study of the Malars' DNA. As it turned out, this was the key to unlocking the mystery of the first Americans. But the question remains, how did these ancient Siberians reach the Americas? If you've watched my video on the Solitarian hypothesis, You may remember the idea of a coastal migration along the Pacific coast of Siberia and North America. This theory suggests that rather than crossing the Bering Strait, early humans took a southerly route along the coast of Siberia and North America. When the ice sheet melted, the rising sea levels would have covered the land bridge connecting the two continents. So if humans were going to migrate from Siberia to the Americas, they would have needed to travel along the coast. This coastal migration hypothesis has gained increasing support in recent years as scientists have uncovered more evidence against the idea of a single founding population. In fact, genetic studies have shown that the indigenous peoples of the Americas can be divided into 3 distinct haplogroups. Haplogroups are classifications of genes that can be grouped together based on shared characteristics. In this case, the 3 haplogroups indicate 3 separate founding populations. But despite the evidence against the single founding population theory, the idea that humans crossed the Bering Strait land bridge during the Ice Age still dominates popular imagination. This is largely due to the idea that humans could not have traveled along the Pacific coast during the last Ice Age. Rising sea levels and the lack of a continuous coastline would have prevented any sort of migration along the coast. However, scientists have put forward several arguments against this idea. First, they point to the discovery of ancient whale bones found in the Siberian Arctic. The bones show clear signs of having been butchered by humans, indicating that people were living on the Siberian coast at the time. Second, scientists argue that if the rising sea levels had prevented people from traveling along the coast, they would have been forced to do so once the glaciers began to recede. As the glaciers melted, the sea level rose rapidly, which would have drowned the land bridge and cut off any remaining possibility of migration over the Bering Strait. One thing is certain though, the story of the first Americans is far more complex than we ever imagined. While the discovery of the Malars has provided us with an unprecedented amount of information, many questions remain. Who were the other founding populations and where did they come from? How did the first Americans adapt to such a wide variety of environments? And what happened to the cultures that existed before the arrival of the Clovis people? As scientists continue to piece together the genetic makeup of the first Americans, they'll no doubt uncover more fascinating details about their origins. It's likely that the story of the first Americans will become increasingly complex, with new discoveries adding more chapters to this epic tale. Now it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the latest discoveries regarding the first Americans? Do you think the coastal migration hypothesis is correct, or is there another explanation for how people reached the Americas? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. Thanks for watching.